3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Corey Thompson from Dice Tower Now, Above Board TV, and all sorts of exciting stuff.
And this is Stephen Bonacore, the Podfather of gaming. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 299. And we're recording this on December 21st, 2023. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. And Tom Vassell actually called me on the phone yesterday. I'm starting to feel loved? No. Can't be. He must be drunk with Christmas cheer. How's it going, buddy? Good to see you. Ignacy was supposed to be here, but last minute he had business to take care of. I feel bad. I told him to pop in if he happened to have the time.
Which would be awesome. He would do that.
He would. It would be pretty funny. But we have some special news, a special announcement about episode 300, which we're going to talk about at the end of the show. That's be the special thing we talk about. So stay tuned. You can just go there now. You don't have to listen to the rest of this. But anyway, Corey,
skip ahead. We just prattle on with our cottage cheese brains about things that are meaningless.
Meaningless news about board gaming. Corey, what is happening over your world? Because it's crazy. I love it.
It is crazy. So the news is out. Everybody knows. Everybody's announced it. Even Tom announced it on Smorgasbord today. I'm leaving Dice Tower Now. We hinted at it last week a little bit, gave the insiders, a little advance notice. But Dice Tower Now is the news thing that I've been doing for about 3 years, once a week news podcast through Dice Tower. And it's been fantastic. I love doing it. It's really fun being on the inside and catching up with all the news, but it is so much time. It's scripted. It takes all week. So with so much going on, something had to go. So,
and, compared to this show, which we put about, 30, 60, 90 seconds worth of work in per week each, seriously, it was taking a lot of your time. And, I completely understand it. Sure.
I'm kind of looking forward to not having this weekly cycle where every recording Monday I would be at full panic mode, and then every Tuesday when it posts I would be in full relaxation every week over and over. Ugh. But that's announced. We're prepping for the last episodes. The other thing that's exciting is I've been down in LA for the past week, and we've been filming a lot of really exciting above board stuff. So Kevin Smith was in town.
Wow.
So director of Clerks and Dogma, my personal favorite, all of these things. Kevin Smith came into town, into the studio. We filmed things with Kevin. We did a wonderful video that's dropping today, so it will have already dropped when this episode release. And he was such a nice guy. My goodness, I just had so much fun with him. So sweet. So professional. He gave us multiple versions of every line that we'd written, and he was funny. Such a good guy. We also filmed.
That's great. I mean, I've heard only good things about Kevin Smith, and
he was.
I mean, I'm sure everybody knows who he is from his huge body of work.
Jay and Silent
Bob, and all of the related stuff done. Under that. I mean, I'm trying to remember which one is my favorite. I think it's Clerks. I mean, it's just amazing.
Clerks is classic. It's so irreverent. It's so good.
It is. But he's just the nicest guy in the world. I mean, that's his. He has a comic book.
Absolutely.
Store. He's one of us in every way. He has a comic book store. Boy. He has a comic book store in New Jersey. He obviously isn't there very often, but and I'd never actually been there. But he did there was a television show on a streaming network that they put based in the store, where all of the employees were constantly,
and all his details on jayandsilentbob.com. But he lives in a movie theater. He lives above a movie theater. It's really. So we also filmed a Christmas video that's going to release on Christmas Day.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's with Isaac Childress, the designer of Gloomhaven. So let's just say that Santa has kidnapped Isaac in response to recent back injuries. So
I could see it
and
now. Love it.
I have a small role in the Christmas video.
Like you're playing Santa, I'm
I
sure.
am not Santa.
That's surprising since you every day you look more and more like Santa Claus.
Well, they thought about that, but I am actually Carl, Santa's ne'er-do-well brother who is living in the house because he's between jobs.
Okay, then
And
that's
I
pretty
will
good.
say, professional makeup put Cheetos in my beard.
Wow, that is just sick, dude.
I had such a good time with it.
Anything
So
else? Anything else you got for us?
those are the big ones.
All right, man.
Getting ready for conventions, travel, heading to Toronto to visit with Daryl Andrews in January.
I have
Getting ready to have people over the house in Napa.
still waiting for my
Uh,
invitation to that Toronto gathering. I don't get it, but hey, that's all right. Don't worry about it, Daryl. That's cool. Anyway, so over here at the Podfather of Gaming, um, videos of the week here. So since I'm home for 5 straight weeks, I'm in the middle of that at the moment. I'm dropping a bunch of content that I really screwed up. I mean, really, really screwed up. First, like the lost episodes of BGI. I had not posted the video portion of this podcast. What Corey and I are doing right now. It's only the audio that was posted, and that's done by Mary over Ignacio's wife, Mary. So I had not posted the videos. The videos are now up, and I did a whole yesterday, Wednesday. I started with the latest one, the new one, which of course announced Play to Z. Our Corey and mine and Z
yep.
Schlesinger, etc. The new venture, the new publisher in the industry. Started with that one, and then I went back and I put the other 4 episodes up that I had missed, something like that.
Missed a few
Also,
weeks.
what's that?
You missed a few
I
weeks.
missed a few weeks and I feel terrible. Sorry, everybody. But now you're going to get it all. And I recommend going back and checking it out. I did dropping today, which will be a week after this drops. I did all of my Essen videos, which include the running of the geeks, day one opening. It's
Yeah.
bigger than Gen Con's first launch of the geeks into the exhibit halls because they only put people in from like 2 places. They don't let them come in from many, many doors. Crazy. The running of the geeks, a walkthrough of hall 3, a full walkthrough, every aisle, every booth.
Wow.
Where you're actually going to see exactly how massive it is. It takes a half hour to walk through that hall, just sauntering through. And then I did a hall 6 walkthrough in a couple of videos. And hall 6, while the furthest away from the big hall 3, it has some of the biggest companies because that's the family hall now. So Ravensburger and Asmodee and Cosmos are all in hall 6. So I've dumped all that. I enjoyed doing it. I hope you enjoy watching it. I think it's pretty good stuff. I'm going to add some more stuff soon, like a top 10 list. I did one over at the Dice Tower when I was there last week. I'm going to do it again, but I'm just going to do it here and just show you what I have in case you didn't see that and you only listen to us because, we're better. I'll do a top 10 video on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. And tomorrow, which will be again almost a week after this drop, so you go over to the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. We did a WSBG World Series of Board Gaming Q&A with Tom when I was down there, John Hagmeyer, the CEO of the World Series, and myself. So I called it literally everything you want to know about the World Series of Board Game, but we're afraid to ask. Meaning, like, a lot of people just don't understand it. And we break it down for you simply how this works, why you want to go, because it's so much more than like, oh, I'm going to compete. It's so stressful. It's so much more than that. So I placed that up there. Check that out. By the time you hear my voice, that will have dropped. And the other little thing is, if you buy your ticket now using code EARLYBIRD, you will have the lowest price ticket of the year. Period, full stop. It's not getting any lower. So do it before January 1st. You'll get the lowest price ticket using code EARLYBIRD. And ticket sales are running 2.5 times ahead of this past World Series of Board Gaming. Why?
Wow.
Because it's an amazing event. Guys, you really want to come and watch the video? Go to WSBGVegas.com, use code EARLYBIRD, and check it out for the best priced tickets. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm home. This is wonderful. I'm in my game room, as Corey can see here. I'm not in my office, so because I've been doing a bunch of work and videos down here, so I'm here. It looks a little prettier than my office, and I gave in to like high school peer pressure, and what's going to happen? I'm taking a trip to New Orleans to see some friends and game for a week, January 15th to 22nd. I'm going to fly directly from there to Charlotte, North Carolina for Tantrum Con. And
Nice.
they're going to make me very special guest of honor or some name that they like because they have other guests there. But very importantly, I was coerced, cajoled, mocked, and just pushed over the edge to come to Tantrum Con from several friends who are going. So if you're going to be there, that's awesome. I'm going to be publicizing them now, of course, since they did this. It's wonderful. I'll be there for an entire week in Charlotte. The con's 4 days, but since I'm coming direct, instead of coming home, Paula and I will just show up over there. Going to be a lot of fun. See you guys at Tantrum Con. Final thing, a quick shout out, as I'd like to have shout outs at the end if I have any. Nicole Brady texted me and said, Stephen, you didn't have the beginning story of Play to Z, because I joined the conversation at Gen Con when they approached me and some others. But the conversation actually started at Origins when Nicole and Scott Brady, approached Zev and started talking about, well, what does he want to do? Does he want to start another company? Maybe we get investors. So that whole thing actually started 2 months before that. And I just want to give a shout out because Scott and Nicole were instrumental, not only in starting the whole process, but also as we moved forward. Scott has got a keen business sense. So does Nicole. And they really helped us getting everything off the ground. If it wasn't for them, this is serious. If it wasn't for them, this would not have come together. I mean, in the end, I only added my name, hopefully my business sense, a little money to make the rest of it go forward. Thank you.
That's awesome.
And with that, we go to the event deck. All right, Corey, we don't have a lot of news this week, which is okay. That just means we take more questions.
It's literally 4 days before Christmas. How much news could you have?
How much
4
news
days before Christmas?
I don't know. I mean, I'm watching the news. I'm watching the news all the time. All kinds of crappy news coming out of the world, but nothing bad or nothing good. Nothing much happening in the board game industry. But Corey, you pulled out a Kickstarter for something. So what is this one about?
I just found this ironic and interesting. It's a little bit of an older piece of news from late October, but Gamelin Games had their palette of epic crimes ready for delivery stolen off the dock in Anaheim.
What?
And just the fact that Tiny Epic Crimes was actually involved in a crime and stolen. But the update, which comes from the Kickstarter updates from Gamelin Games, is that it was recovered. They said last week one of our pledge backers alerted us to a concerning Facebook Marketplace post originating from Southern California. The post advertised the sale of brand new board games by the pallet with a prominent display of Tiny Epic Crimes and Tiny Epic Crimes kingpins on top of the sealed cartons. So this discovery raised suspicions given they're currently in the final stages of fulfilling our campaign and the games are not yet available in the mass. So they worked with the police and it's all been fixed. It's all been settled. So it's nice that the community helped bring this to a close.
Did they arrest the jerks? I mean, criminals are not smart. Let's just face this to begin with. They may be clever to say like, oh, look at that, we can steal this pallet. But they're not smart because there's cameras all over the world. What are you going to do with a pallet of board games unless you're a game publisher, game seller, game something? You're not. So did they get the jerks?
They got in touch with the detectives. The detectives, it's what you expect. The detective said, "Don't do anything, don't alert them,
Yep.
don't say anything.
And they found the
Just let
stuff.
the detectives do it." And they found it and they settled it. I don't think it's been public exactly who it
Yeah.
is, who was
Right.
arrested, how it, and this is how it usually happens. I know in the TV shows we really like to see them get their just rewards and everybody gets together and the
Yes.
story's all resolved. But usually the police do what they do very well in the background and it just gets settled.
Indeed, indeed. This harkens back to the theft of the magic cards
I
from
was thinking about
Gen
that.
Con this year, right? That was Gen Con this year, and
Yeah.
they not the dumb criminals again, shown like looking at the cameras as they're wheeling out, a pallet of magic cards, and it was found because like somebody's got to fence this stuff. We can use those cool terms from detective movies, and sooner or later cops find them, and they did.
Yeah.
And we didn't find out if they went to jail, but I hope they did because
And
not
that's the
cool.
thing too, is we generally won't find out what the final conclusion of the criminals of the caught people is.
You
But
know,
the thing about the Tiny Epic Crimes is there's a wonderful picture of the Gamelin guys who went down to the recovery point to pick up the inventory and bring it home. And they're using the little notepad that comes with Tiny Epic Crimes, and they're writing their inventory notes in
oh,
it
that's
about the new collecting the
that's
new inventory.
that is awesome. That is awesome. So the next thing you got here is a really good one. I mean, this is big media kind of stuff. Amazon inking a deal to produce a Warhammer 40K films, and it's going to star Henry Cavill, Superman.
Cavill, yeah, Henry
Cavill,
Cavill.
Cavill, is that how you pronounce it? Yes, Cavill, Henry Cavill. Wow,
Yeah, it's
dude,
well known in the industry that Henry Cavill is a huge 40K fan.
that's
He's a gamer,
amazing.
nice guy, but Warhammer is really his thing. So this has been talked about for a while that there was some sort of 40K deal in the works, but now we've got we've got the actual news.
I'm floored by this that they're going to do, and they're going to do both television and movies apparently, or they're looking to do both. I mean, is that sort of
Amazon has signed, I think, the option to do both. And of course, they're going to see how it does, and they're going to start with something big, and they're going to see if
well,
there's a demand for
well,
more.
we
But the
we
world is so interesting and so deep. Uh, I think it's going to be fantastic, even if you're not a fan of 40K. Just the lore and the universe there is going to make for wonderful television and movies.
that is, I mean, that is just a really amazing piece of news that we would get that kind of thing going forward. Now, and I've never played 40K. I certainly don't even know the lore other than a few of the faction names and stuff like that. But to have something from the hobby get produced for TV is great, like the D&D movie, right? That was just great, and they did it right this time versus in the past where not so right.
There
So
were so many false starts.
yes, there were, but this is great stuff. So can't wait to see this. Probably not going to see it for another 2 years. That's the way things work in the
Oh
industry. So
yeah. So just the little details that people are probably wondering about. It's Warhammer 40K. The fantasy world of Sigmar has not been mentioned in the press release at all, so we don't know if that's involved. And Henry Cavill is set to star in and executive produce. So this is not a by name only. This is a passion of his. So it's gonna be cool. No
you
real
say
date on when stuff will come out.
you're saying that 40K was not directly announced? I'm sorry, I missed that.
40K is the topic, is all over this press release.
Sure, I
But
see
it's
it.
an offshoot. That's the fantasy version called World of Sigmar. And that fantasy version is not directly talked about. So we're dealing with the sci-fi far
Oh,
future Warhammer 40K,
which is by far the more popular
yeah,
one, I think.
not the little offshoots.
Right, right, right. Well, I think that works for me.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
All right. Let's get over to an extended strategy and tactics. All right, Corey, since we didn't have much on the way of news, we certainly can take a bunch of questions here. So the first one is from Josh Wasser. He's at You Old Goat. Love it.
You must have been upset you couldn't get that one.
Yes. Why do I take this abuse? How do promos work from a publishing perspective? He asks. Do they get printed with the base game and expansion, but put aside to be distributed separately? Do you separate print runs just for promos? Do you do separate print runs? Do you do additional print runs just for promos? Or are they gone when you're out of copies, barring inclusions in later special edition prints? So the short answer to that is yes.
All the above.
Yeah, it's really all the above. So if the bigger publishers that have more vision, at least
more planning,
more people, more things, you'll say, okay, well, we're going to come out with this game, but we want to also promote it in certain ways, and promos are obviously part of that, giveaways, expansions, everything are kind of part of a good planning. The base game does well, you do an expansion, or maybe you say, I think it'll do good enough, we'll also print an expansion and we'll bring that out 6 months after the base game comes. So it's really dependent on how it works. Now, one of the ways you can do this for very cheaply, I mean really cheaply, is if you can print the promo cards on the same sheet of paper as you print the cards for the game. And that is something that I've done in the past. And literally as the cards are coming off and being cut, the machine can sort X number of cards over to a different pile, and then they get packaged differently or just thrown into a box, depending on how it works out and at what printer. So it's a good question. And the answer is it just depends.
Yes. It's all the economics of it. Cards are printed in sheets of a defined number of cards. It's usually not worth it to print just promos because you're not selling them, you're giving them away. But what I've also heard is a lot of companies, if they're doing another product and they already have it at the printers, they could throw in their old promo to reprint it if they have extra spots in their card sheet. So usually, from what I understand, it's usually printed if the opportunity arises and there's an extra spot in the sheet of cards.
Exactly. Okay, ask you a question, Corey. Do you know how many cards are printed now? How many standard poker-sized cards are printed normally on a sheet of paper? One sheet. Now it will be different based on different printers, but a sheet of paper running through when it prints. Do you know how many cards get printed? It's a pretty well-known number.
It slips my mind. It's 18.
No, every sheet, they're huge, is 120 cards.
120 on a
120.
Sheet. Wow.
Yeah. So because if you think about it, what's a deck of cards plus the extra cards? So you can do essentially 2 sets of 60. 52 cards in a standard deck, plus you have all those extra little cards. They all get printed on one sheet, and then there'll be either some waste or some extra things that they'll put into the pack. So 120 now, and it goes up tremendously if you're printing the mini cards, and I don't remember the number, but I know it. I have it written down somewhere. It's something like 260 cards if they're the mini cards and things like that. So yeah, they're big pieces of paper. And they're linen finished and all kind of stuff.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, if you get some good ones. Chris Stone, who's at Chris Stone, he says, hey guys, excited to offer some questions for strategy and tactics. Here's my number one burning question.
This must be a really important number one question.
This is
burning that
This
much.
is good. When are you going to re-record the show voiceover elements to include Corey? Listening to the latest episode today, it sounds like he's an official part of the show for the foreseeable future. Don't you think it's time to give my fellow former Vacaville, California homie some love in the show intro and segment bumpers?
Oh, that's amazing.
Did we do that? You're my intern. That's all that matters right now, isn't it?
I have not recorded a voiceover.
Okay.
As far as I know, it's kind of like the Dread Pirate Roberts, where every day I come in and you say, "Well, I'll very well fire you tomorrow," and so you didn't want to do a permanent voiceover thing
So
until
so
you had to.
so Chris and everyone out there, go to the at the end of the episode, there'll be an announcement that might include this something,
That would be cool.
or is this is tangentially related to that. But there you go. So
Yep.
I'll leave this answer for the end of the show.
And thank you so much for the Vacaville call out. Yeah, I owned a veterinary hospital in Vacaville, California, Animal Care Center. Owned it for 15 years.
And just
So
to remind
that's a
everybody,
callback.
when you see Corey at the convention, you should be addressing him as Dr. Thompson. He is a medical doctor, a veterinarian.
I will be very upset if that doesn't happen.
Chris Stone at Chris Stone. He also asked him his second question. As I imagine, this will not be addressed until after Stephen has returned from UKGE. Correct, Chris. What is your single most memorable game or stout related moment of the trip? What was my most? Oh, we talked about the UKGE. I think, I mean, off the top of my head, most memorable thing was how big it was, and I was expecting it to be big. How much less dressed the booths were compared to the bigger US con. So UKGE is as bigger, I think, than Origins right now. I'm pretty sure we reported it's bigger than Origins, but the booths don't get the big to-dos. I mean, you see the signage, you see the different things, but they just don't get as blown out. And I don't know why. I mean, you would think some of the vendors would. I don't know if there's any rules about it. I didn't check. That would have been a most memorable thought that comes to me. The other ones are that the place is so friendly and hanging out.
That's awesome.
Which I did every night, of course, at the bar at the Hilton. Hilton is the closest, second closest hotel, but that's what all the industry was really fun. The beer was great. It was really cool seeing everybody and getting hugged by everybody industry, but also
Yeah.
the
I
fans.
haven't been to UK yet. I'm really looking forward to it, but there is a very good chance that a certain filming studio will be going to UKGE this year.
Really? Oh, how about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. I
You
don't
should
know which one,
you
but
should take me. Anyway, third question from Chris, maybe more of a conversation topic than a question, but here are several nested questions at the end. As I write this at the end of May 2023 with the ATO into the unknown quackalope controversy. Okay, we're gonna have to bring that up again, I guess, fresh in everyone's mind.
yep.
There has been a lot of talk about transparency and disclosure by content creators when they receive payment or other compensation, such as a review copy of the game in exchange for an endorsement or positive review. But I haven't heard anyone talking about the legal ramifications of this. In the US, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, requires content creators to disclose when an endorsement has been paid for by the beneficiary. If they don't, especially if they ignore FTC notices, they can run afoul of the law and be on the hook for over $50,000 per violation. Questions. Do you think social media content creators are even aware of this legal requirement?
No.
No. If not, do you think making this more common knowledge would help bring our industry more in line with the rest of the advertising and media criticism words in terms of disclosure and transparency? Corey,
No.
let me let me take the beginning of this. So
Yeah.
on the Dice Tower, they have a line that they say at the end of every one of the things that review copies may have been received, so they're disclosing that they get review copies. It's very small, but they disclose these are copies sent to them as review copies. Now, the Dice Tower, say what you may, does a great job of being honest about everything. Now, when they are getting paid, they say they're getting paid, or it's obvious
Right.
that they're getting paid. This is a paid promotion. They are doing like I was over at the Winter Spectacular last week, and our friend Travis Chance from CMON was there, and he was showing off
The new Cthulhu.
Cthulhu Deep Dark Cthulhu Dark. It's based on the Study of Emerald, the Martin Wallace game, and they made some updates to it.
Right.
I'm gonna say, game was great. The game was great. I had a great time playing it. And that was a paid promotion, and they, the publisher's right there, so obviously it is anyway. But yes, if anyone's getting paid to do a video, you absolutely should disclose, and just literally can put it right at the end.
Especially if the video has the pretense of being a review. If you're watching a video and they're telling you, I like this game, this is a cool game, you need to know whether they were paid to say that. Nobody can be completely impartial. Nobody in their right mind will continue a business where they get paid a lump of money to review a game and then say something bad about it. They just won't be paid later by the publishers. So it needs to be clear. So you have this middle ground that's just a paid promotion where you announce that it's paid. You never say anything bad. A lot of people also won't say anything glowing. They'll just say, this is what I see. Now you can look at the game the same time I look at the game. And that seems like an even way to do it.
I mean, I don't do reviews. You don't do reviews, but we have opinions. So like I have sitting next to me right here, Thunder Road Vendetta, in its box. It's not out on the table, but I, was asked, hey, do a short video on your favorite game of the year. You got it. That game was my number one game. Spoiler alert, when I do my top 10, that's number one right there.
But the thing is, everybody knew that was your favorite game before you were asked to do the video. Your opinion was made before that deal was done.
And I'm not getting paid to do it, but I will specifically promote games I love, because that's what I do. I promote the hobby. I promote gamers. I promote games that make me happy. They make that game. I wish I could pick it up, but something's on top of it. Thunder Road Vendetta is definitely not for everybody, because it's a chaotic, insane game. If you don't want a game that you could easily lose for no fault of your own, then you don't want to play that game. So, but I love it.
It's Eurothrash. It's random chaos and wonderfulness.
It is indeed. So content creators out there, if you're getting paid, say it. If you're getting a review copy, say it. Otherwise, you technically could run afoul. I don't think anybody's watching that, but be honest, and give honest opinions. If it's if it's a review, give an honest opinion. Or if you don't like to say bad things, just that's fine.
And again, this all came to light a while back.
We should mention the Quackalope thing. Yeah, mention what the context
reviewer
is.
And social influencer. It was implied strongly that Quackalope had received money to do a review and then had asked for more money to not say the game was bad.
Something like that.
A lot of sides to it, and I don't think that the actual story or outcome of it is important. What's important is the discussion that comes afterwards. How does one do an impartial review? How does one make a business out of doing reviews? How do you say something bad about a game if you think it's bad? No one will pay you to say bad things about their game. So the discussion is, how do you make a business out of being an honest reviewer?
Well, right. I mean, and there are ways of doing it. You put things on YouTube and you get clicks, and but you're not going to make enough money to live on YouTube clicks. And I mean, even the biggest in our industry is one of the three. It's either the Dice Tower, it's
Shut Up
Watch It Played, or Shut Up and Sit Down, which has an average viewer per video of over 100,000. Every video gets over 100,000 views in the end. Now they release a lot less content than the Dice Tower, so therefore, you can figure out, does the Dice Tower actually get more clicks in the end? Who knows? It doesn't. That's not the important point. The point is, you can make money. You're not going to get a lot of money. So doing paid videos,
right,
as long as you disclose, is a great way of possibly doing it. Sure. Becca Suez, who's at Magically Lazy. I love that. Hey,
I
all.
feel that.
I feel magically lazy today because as soon as this is over, the Podfather Gaming shirt comes off. I put on a ratty t-shirt, and I'm gonna sit in front of now. Actually, I have word. I can't use that word, that W word really. Word. I have some work.
Aren't you retired?
Yes, I am, Corey, and I'm too busy. I have to end this busyness. So anyway, she asks, I believe Becca asks, if you were focused to defend yourself in a battle to the death with one board game, the box components or anything else that come with it, what board game would you choose? Does she mean, am I going to fight the game itself?
If you were forced to defend yourself in a battle to the death with one board game, what game would it be? So
And
maybe it's, I mean, I read it as, what am I either good at or, I mean, and I
oh,
didn't use a game that's very random. Actually, last night I played a couple card games at home that I thought I was reasonably good at them. They had skill and strategy, and I felt like they weren't all that random. So the big ones for me might be Shot and Totten, which is the old battle line. I love that game. It's
Shot and
so good.
Totten came
Shot and Totten's
first.
the new. No, Battle Line came first.
No, Shot and Totten came first, and then Battle Line. We can look the dates on these.
Really?
Yeah, because Knizia added. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. Knizia added the tactics cards. I forgot what those called. Those extra cards were not part of Shot and Totten, and then he put it into Battle Line when GMT picked it up. They made it more, I don't know, war-y, I guess. More of a war card.
Wow.
Anyway, that's not the important point. So a card game like Battle Line or Shot and Totten, which
No,
obviously
you're
has.
right. 1999 Shot and Totten.
Remember that Corey said Bonacore was right, and I'll add always into
You,
that sentence.
you are correct,
Okay.
Bonacore.
I know my old games very well because, well, old, and I was in the hobby then. So not everybody that listens to us even knows about games that were released 10 years ago, right? They started relatively new. Anyway, since now I understand this question, that I'm it's like someone's gonna kill me if I don't beat them in this game. Which game would I pick? Well, I would pick a trick taking card game, almost assuredly. I'm good at those. I mean, and again, most people that know me well, my buddies from New Jersey, I guess would be the best example, say, Bonacore, you suck at games. They really do. I got my buddy Neil, who doesn't listen to this. He's also my CPA and my lawyer sometimes. He's my real lawyer, not my fake lawyer. Like Marion. Anyway, so he like literally says that all the time. You like really suck at games. Now I don't think I do. I think I'm average. I'm as good as the next human being, no better, no worse. I'm good at certain things. I think I'm good at War of the Ring, but not great at it by any stretch of the imagination. I played it a lot, but I'm pretty darn good at almost any trick-taking card game, because I guess it's the set of things you can do is a little more limited, and I can analyze it and figure out some of the math to it, yada, yada, yada. So I would pick, most likely, a trick-taking game. And if I was forced to now pick that trick-taking card game, I would pick D. Steven Seagal, also known as Kill Steven Seagal. No, well, it's not really known as that. That's what it's fans.
The
It's
Seven Signs.
Seals?
In English,
Seals.
Seals. The Seven Seals, and it's published in English as Slough Off.
Slough Off, and there was another one with a Z name, but yes, I called it my favorite trick-taking card game. It's excellent. If you've never played D. Steven Seagal or Slough Off, check it out. Thank you, Becca. That was a thought-provoking question. I thought you wanted the game to attack me. I thought that was what she was saying. The game and its components are going to come and kill me, so I have to defend myself against it. I would do it with my collector's edition of War of the Ring, which is sitting no more than 10 feet away from me right now.
That one would defend you.
I would die happy as it killed me, I guess. Anyway, Al Mad, not Mad Al Mad from the Netherlands. He's at Pancho Latour. He says, if I have followed this podcast adventure closely, Stephen and Ignacy have in common that games live and die by their theme. Steven, mainly as a
Right.
player who is not necessarily invested in heavy euros. Quite the contrary, Ignacy as a designer with a focus in storytelling. I personally adhere to this motto when it comes to modern hobby games. But sometimes I wonder, have you guys ever painfully sacrificed a mechanism to theme or vice versa during your publishing or design quest? I mean, really to the point that you had to go through a development step where you were stuck with a decision that could put theme at risk to the point of reconsidering a critical design, thus challenging your own vision. Should we leave this for Ignacy? Because this is a really interesting question.
I think Ignacy would have a really. I know he's got stories.
And I'm actually gonna quickly mention that my story in this is with my current game, and that I'm constantly telling Jeff, no, not doing that because it's not thematic. It's not thematic to the what we are doing. And I can't obviously say what we're doing yet because Asmodeus told me not to do it, but that's true. So we're gonna save that one. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
Marcus Shepard from Finland. Hey, Marcus, did you ever adjust game design? Again, with the game design. So I guess there's a lot of stuff. I'm gonna leave that one too. We're gonna go down to Anne W, who was at my house just last week. She's a very big friend of the show and a good friend, and you know her too. She came on Podfather the Cruise. Yeah. She's awesome. She's at Anne Skater. Seeing the explosion of questions prompted by the contest asking for questions announced May 2023. I'm assuming it's about December 2025 by the time this question is read. Wrong. It's December 2023.
Off by a whole 2 years.
2 years, and so there you go.
We are on the ball.
Does Steven regret telling people they could enter 3 questions? I am curious to see if the show gets stuck in a time loop of questions specific to big events of May 2023, like the D&D drama. Right. The one, the D&D drama was, what's it called? Open gaming license or AI and board gaming. So I'm sure we're going to take a lot of questions like that.
Yeah.
Over time. And we have, and we will continue to, because you know what? All of those things are actually really important in the hobby. But, so let me just continue with what she's asking. So are we going to get stuck in some kind of time loop with those questions, or if the repetitive questions end up being grouped together? I will be listening to find out. I can't resist at least attempting to win, as I have Podfather and Portal Game swag, but nothing supporting Corey. Oh my goodness. And you can go over to the posted Corey merchandise. Can you get Podfather merchandise and Corey merchandise? So that wasn't really a question, but Anne is amazing. So thank you, Anne. And the bottom line here is that
do you regret saying 3 questions?
It's okay. Yeah. So that is the question. So the answer,
I will say that I regret everything Steven does. So that's my answer.
I regret not making it 5 questions, because we're gonna, because we're now on page 46 of the questions in that group, and there's only 53 pages there, so we're gonna run out at some point. So we could have made it more questions. In fact, somebody actually said, why didn't you make it more questions if you wanted? Well, I didn't want people to ask like dumb questions that they couldn't think of a good answer. Like, what's your favorite color? I mean, really? Okay, red. Okay, but you know what I'm saying. So sometimes people won't ask good questions. They just want to ask a question to be in the thing. So that was the thing. What's next? Where are we going? Oh, Christine McCullough. We know Christine very well. Hi, Christine. She's at Woogies. Question 1. Some games have a card that if you get it, you are the winner. Oh, you mean the I win card. Do you all remove that card? For example, Lords of Waterdeep have a Lord the Builder.
Yeah, there's the one character that you get points at the end of the game for every building you built. And there's arguments that it's too powerful a card.
I don't know that card, so I can't say anything, but
there's a lot of games that have that overpowered card, and people will remove it at some point. Cosmic Encounter has, I think it's the virus, where when you play, instead of adding cards together, you multiply them. And it ends up with numbers that are ridiculous.
So the question to you is, do you remove cards that you don't like from a game?
Don't like, no, but overpowered.
Yes, say that.
I
Say it.
have done it. So for Cosmic Encounter, I have said you can't beat the virus. Lords of Waterdeep, though, I've left the builder in. The other thing is, I think this really only applies if you have people who play a game a lot. So most of the time, I'm playing games a couple times and often with people who haven't played it before. And if you do that, then it's got to be ridiculously overpowered to really make it not fun. So usually I'm leaving them in.
I like to play it the way the designer designed it. There are reasons for designers doing certain things. Having said that, if the designer came out and said, well, yeah, you can get rid of that, if they actually came out and said, I meant it this way, or I think it is, I would do it. But in general, I'm a purist, I guess you could say. So I tend not to do that. I tend to keep it the way the designer said. What do you think? You like that, Corey? Don't you like that you're doing it the way?
I totally respect that.
You totally respect it? I don't think you
Yep.
respect it. Okay.
I don't respect you, but I respect that opinion.
I'm actually moving the questions for Ignacy now to a better place in the show notes before I forget, because if I don't do it now, they're gonna get lost. So anyway, thank you.
Like
Thank
the
you.
video episodes.
Like, don't start with me. Thank you, everybody. Let's get over to play testing. I say, Corey, we did a very controversial, of course, question last week. We've been going with lots of controversial questions. I mean, you've been putting them out there, so it's on you, these controversial questions. But what did you ask us, and what do you think? I mean, go ahead.
I asked a very simple question that, for some odd reason, I get asked a lot. How many board games are too many for a personal collection? Everybody
How
talks about, I
how
have a limit
many
of this many, or boy, that's too many. So
how many games are too many for your personal collection? That was the question. So did you find that people were like, are you out of your mind? What does that mean? Or did you find that people were like, well, okay, yeah, I know that this is it.
And I guessed that people would every answer would be, there's no such thing as too many. But people take our questions seriously for some reason. I'm not used to people listening to me. So we had a lot of interesting discussion here. So
We
the
did.
one that I liked was from Joss Wasser again. I don't think it's a number. It's more like a state. If you can't walk into your domicile because it's filled with game boxes, then you're getting close to having too many. Another way of reaching too many is when your significant other tells you you have too many. So if it's affecting your lifestyle, and I agree. And I can kind of comically say I probably do have too many.
You have too many. Well, you bought a house just to game in. I mean, that's a problem. I'm going to say that, but it's a beautiful house, so I can't really say too much.
It's a beautiful problem.
And again, and occasionally I'm invited. So I got a few here. Like Chris Dupree says, if you have enough shelves room that can be dedicated to hobby, it should be okay. Unless if living with a partner depends on their perception of too much. If the same games are in your collection are in your shelf of shame every year, if you have no idea what games you have, if you are unable to enter the room or access games in the back of the shelf because the games wall of games are blocking them, if you are unable to perform daily life routines because board games are everywhere, finally, how many of those games can you project to play before you expire? I think that's
the big one that I don't like the math on. I figured out at some point that if I wanted to play every game that I own, I would have to live to be like 175 years old. So that bothered me a little bit.
Ron Roy says it's important to not miss the fact that collecting can be addictive. Everyone should be personally responsible, both fiscally and mentally. Having too many games could put a burden of guilt on you for not playing them, or a burden on your finances if you cannot pay for them. That said, as
Yeah.
long as you're responsible, then there is no limit in any one personal collection. His collection does have a limit. It must fit within the confines of my existing shelving 4x4 Calyx and some auxiliary shelving here and there, which is about 8 more cubes. If I got outside of this, then something needs to be removed. I'm currently at capacity, so any new game will have the expectation of being better to me than the majority of my existing games in my collection. I have a database I wrote for myself that I use to determine this. I like that answer. That's sort of my answer, though. I should. I could
It shouldn't
probably.
ruin your life.
It should not ruin your life. And
Yeah.
this is my favorite answer of all. It's from at Insider Trading. He says, when IKEA staff stage an intervention on your Calyx purchase.
That's no joke.
That's a great one. So
But
Corey.
yeah, Kaya staff has started recognizing me. I so I just want to point out Peter Woken said it sounds like you're trying to shame Corey with his personal collection.
I am. Yes, indeed.
Steven.
Yes, well, that's true.
So
Yes.
he says the answer is however many games you have plus 10. That's too many.
That's beautiful.
I love
Thank
that
you.
answer.
Thank you, Peter. I know Peter. So Corey, next week, this week's question, I should say, the one that everyone will answer and we'll take next week, is a very interesting one, but I needed some clarification. So why don't you read it? It was your question. And again, you're very good at coming up with these. Why don't you read the question and I'll ask my clarifications.
And it does need a little bit of interpretation. I'm going to go back to what was known as the Muncie ruling, which was where they were looking for a definition in legislature of what pornography was. He said, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it.
Yes, it's pretty funny. Yes.
So I need a little bit of
Right.
that.
So what do you
So
have
the
here?
question is, what is the oldest by creation date hobby board game you have played?
Oh, okay. So hit
And
hobby.
hobby is really where you have to use that interpretation a little bit. And I put a little note here, no cheating with chess, Parcheesi, Mancala, Monopoly, hobby.
So it has to be non-mass market is essentially it.
I
Hobby.
frown on mass market and I frown on public domain.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Crazy
Okay.
Eights is a pretty darn old game.
Okay. So that's good. And that makes it that I don't have an answer because I didn't understand it. Though I went on to Board Game Geek and I put negative for the year published negative 99999, which that would be that many years BC to 1900 just to check out like what games were back there. But I think that none of those would be considered hobby because there was no hobby board gaming. So if we get closer to the 20th century, and games that are still being played come into so no wait, you know what? I just have a game right here at the top of my list that I consider is hobby. But it was made in 1876, but it exists to today.
Nice.
And I consider this hobby, but we can argue it a little bit. Crokinole. Crokinole is absolutely one of my favorite games. It's a flicking game.
That is a great game.
I mean, it's a phenomenal game. I played it actually a lot at the World Series of Board Gaming, and they had a little like mini publisher-based tournament there. So that would probably be one. But if you don't like that one because it's a huge board. I have my board sitting on my wall there. It's not really hobby. How about Pit? Now, Pit was 1903, still being sold by somebody, and still an excellent game. So does that count?
That's a really good answer. I would say that counts.
All right. So
it has that quality.
Certain je ne sais quoi.
I'm probably going a lot more modern because I think I'm being more strict on hobby. So
okay.
I'm going with Dungeon. TSR's Dungeon. That really felt very hobby board game to me. And it was when I was young, my goal was to basically play D&D as a board game. And Dungeon original publication date 1975, and it was a dungeon crawl. It was a wonderful board game. I loved it to death when I was a kid.
That was, yeah, and that was the one I remember. That it came in that really terrible box that broke up. It had the terrible cards that you punched out, but you were playing like a
They all
fighter.
did. They all did.
They all did, but you were playing like a fighter, right? And
Yeah.
I had that, and I think I only got rid of it because the whole thing just fell apart.
Well, they reprinted it not
Yep.
that long ago, and this nostalgia, as far as nostalgia, it is still huge for me. I absolutely love that game. So the newest reprinting was 2014 from Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah. That's a great pick. And I am now going to take a pick at something that's a little bit newer that you would definitely consider the hobby. I would say it's probably Civilization, because that's
Oh yeah,
1980, certainly a hobby game. Played that a bunch of times. Still think it's an excellent game. It's a long game, but it's
I know a good one for you.
okay.
Acquire.
Oh, Acquire, absolutely, but Acquire is not as old as that. I'm trying to find out.
63.
Oh, then absolutely, I would think yes. Acquire absolutely would be my answer then, because I played a lot of it. That is definitely a hobby game. That is not for the mass market. So I think people have to do a little research on this one to actually figure out. Maybe we should say it's after 1960. Should we add that into it?
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I like the discussion.
yes, the discussion is wonderful. Let's leave it
And
that way.
like I said, just hobby board games. So we're doing kind of the hipster thing, if it's everybody had it in their shelf, then it's kind of cheating a little bit. Although you can say cootie. Cootie is fine.
Excellent. So in just a minute, I will post this question into the Guild on Board Game Geek. Go there, please. Find our playtesting thread for the question and post your answer there. And in the meantime, let's get to final scoring. Thank you so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to watch Board Games Insider or listen to it. But you can go to the Podfather Gaming YouTube channel and check it out with all those other things I dropped. You want to be part of this podcast? Yes, you do. Go to the Guild on Board Game Geek, ask us questions in the strategy and tactics thread, or answer our question to you in the play testing thread. Check out our websites, which are portalgamesus.com, podfathergaming.com, dicetowerdish.com, just for a little while longer. I guess I can remove that now.
Dish will probably stay for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
An interview website that I do. I haven't kept up with it recently, but I'm proud of that. I don't think it's going away.
Oh, there you go. And Play2Z Games. We are all over social media, so please like our Facebook page. I'm actually putting your thing back there. There we go.
That's okay, man.
Like the Facebook page /Board Games Insider /Portal Games US /Podfather Gaming. Speak directly to Ignacy, Corey, Steven on Twitter and Instagram. Well, I really should start calling it X, I guess, under protest. At Portal Games US, at Podfather Gaming, at Dice Tower Dish, and that's it. And the very active YouTube channels of Portal Games Movies, the Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. Ignacy is on TikTok dancing at Portal Games US. We really love to see you in person at upcoming convention in 2024. I hope to see you guys at Tantrum Con at the end of January.
I'm jealous. That sounds like a fun trip.
It is going to be a great
Tantrum
trip,
guys.
They are good people, and I know a lot of other people showing up for this, so it's great. Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Joshua Bowman from Tabletop Submarine Podcast. If you want him to edit your podcast, reach out to him at tabletopsubmarine@gmail.com. Also, that great voice you hear doing the intro, outro, and in between segments is that of Ray Greenlee, and he can be contacted to do voiceover work for you at raygreenleevoiceover.com.
You should contact him to do like Corey's name in a voiceover. That would be really good.
Yeah, I should do that. And speaking of that, maybe speaking of that, we have a huge announcement First of all, there's a couple of things. One of the announcements is going to happen on episode 300, but episode 300 itself is a huge announcement about it. We're going to do a live episode 300 where you all can participate in this. It is most likely going to be December 30th. And we're going to put it in the middle of the day, so it makes it so that everybody across the world in late, in the evening in Europe, in the morning or early afternoon and Pacific time. So we're going to do a live show. We're going to advertise it in the social media, of course, and on Board Game Geek. So even if you don't hear this, you'll see it up there. And on that show, yes, we're going to have new voiceovers for Corey and other surprises that are going to happen on or after episode 300. So come check us out for a live show, the three of us doing it live and on Zoom, and everybody else can come in and give us questions, and we'll keep it non-chaotic because we'll have Mary and Paula making sure that nobody does anything bad during the, which you guys won't, of course. We'll just make sure that we take questions and make it easy for everybody to interact with us. All right, everybody.
Sounds really fun.
Have a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Have a great time. Happiness and health into the new year. And we'll see you next week.
Happy holidays, everyone. See you later.
Bye-bye.